All right, welcome to your first economics lecture of the semester. This lecture is really just going to introduce you to some concepts and some terms and some basic definitions. So let's go ahead and get started with our basic economic concepts. Here we go. All right, so when we talk about economics, when we talk about this term economics, let's talk about the definition. So the definition of economics is the study of human efforts to satisfy unlimited and competing wants through the careful use of scarce resources. Okay, so we talked already a little bit about this idea that our wants or our desires are unlimited. Not only that, but they're competing, right? So I might want something that you might want. And so therefore we have competing wants because of the scarcity issue. We can't both have the exact same thing. And so we have to use resources carefully because of scarcity. So again, this idea is studying, right? That's what economics is, the study of human efforts to satisfy unlimited and competing wants through the careful use of resources. Now, there's a couple of ways that we satisfy those wants. And the first way that we often think of is through the sale of goods and services. Now, a good is something tangible, right? A good is something that you can touch, something you can grab. All right. The first type of good, there's a couple different types of goods that we're going to talk about. The first one is what we call a consumer good. So this is something that's designed for final use by the individuals. All right. That's a consumer good. This particular product, this good, something you can touch, the tangible item, is designed to be used by people, by consumers. It's not used to build anything else. The final use is by individuals. The next term is what we call a capital good. Okay, so consumer goods is the final use by individuals. A capital good, though, is used to produce other goods. So this could be some sort of, like you have pictures here of tractors or machines, but capital is something that you use to produce something else. All right, that's a capital good. So consumers being used by consumers, consumer goods. Capital good, something that you use to produce something else. A couple of other terms that you need to know when we talk about goods are durable goods or non-durable goods, okay? So a durable good is something that's designed to last for more than 3 years when used regularly. It's a durable good. Durable means it lasts, right? So a durable good, the cutoff is 3 years. So something that's designed to last more than 3 years when used regularly. A non-durable good, you probably figured this out, is something that lasts for fewer than 3 years when used regularly. Now, I put a picture on here of cell phones. Now, the companies design them as non-durable goods in order to get more money, right? More capital, more revenue. They want your money. They want the consumers to use these and then need a new one in 3 years. That's why we see things like computers or iPads or phones, and you can't update them anymore because it's so old that it can't even accept the updates because it's designed to be a non-durable good. All right. And then I mentioned there's we satisfy our wants through the sales of goods and services. So this is the services side of things. Services is work that is performed for someone, right? So you have pictures here of people doing all sorts of things, right? Somebody cooking you food, a doctor, that's a service, a nurse, right? An airline pilot, they provide a service. And it's not something that you go to the store and you walk out of the store with. All right, that's a good. So a service is work that's performed for someone. And these are the ways that we satisfy our wants. All right. Okay, we've also used this word consumers. So I want to make sure we have a clear understanding of this term consumers. Consumers are people, businesses, or governments who use the goods and services. All right. So again, we often think of the people, the consumers, but consumers can also be businesses. And again, consumers can also be the government. These are examples of consumers. Again, you're using the goods and services. All right. So then our next topic is productive resources. Again, as I mentioned, this is a lot of just kind of definitions and really gaining an understanding of these terms. So as we move forward through the semester, we can talk about these concepts. All right. So the productive resources, resources used to produce things. The first term that we have to talk about are the factors of production. All right. These are the resources that we actually use to be productive. The first one is land. Okay. Land is defined as anything that exists in nature that is used to produce. All right. So it's something that's not created by human effort. So trees, grass, these are examples of land, right? Another thing that's really important to understand about this particular factor of production is it's fixed. There is a limited supply of land. We only have so much land as the earth is that makes up on this earth. And that's all we have. Once we run out of it, it's too bad, so sad for us, right? It's a fixed resource. There's a limited supply of land. The next factor is capital. All right. Capital's tools, equipment, and even factories can be used in the production of goods and services. So again, coming back to this capital good, right? Something that's used to produce something else. So when we talk about factors of production, right? Land and capital. Let me move this so you can see my, factory picture here. So what we have here again, so capital is anything being used to produce something else. So tools or equipment, again, even factories can be capital. All right. There's also financial capital. This is money that's used to buy tools or equipment. You have capital goods, as I mentioned, tools, equipment, and factories. Now this is kind of confusing. Sorry, here's Nora peeking her head in. A special guest speaker today. I'm recording my lecture, honey. So capital is also the result of production because we talk about money being capital. So it can get a little confusing here, but I want you to understand at this point that capital is also a factor of production, okay? The financial capital can be a factor of production if that money is being used to buy tools or equipment to produce. All right. Okay. And then our final traditional factors of production, our final traditional factor of production is labor. Labor is people with all their efforts, abilities, and skills that help to produce. Okay. Now this particular factor of production is in fact renewable, right? Because the population continues to reproduce itself. Labor can vary in size, right? Some, in order to produce things, sometimes you just need a little bit of labor. You only need a few people. Sometimes you need a lot. So labor, though, is the people that are used to produce. Then there's one more final factor of production, and we call this a non-traditional factor of production because this is much more part of our contemporary economy, right? Our more modern economy. And the final factor of production are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are risk takers who start new businesses to bring new products to the market. So they have new ideas. They're doing something that hasn't been done before. Okay. They use the factors of production to produce something new or something in a new way. And ultimately, the entrepreneurs are responsible for growth and for changes in our economy. All right. So this is just a quick little kind of image to just remind you of those factors of reproduction and to review them, right? So you can see this is obviously a British cartoon or Canadian because of how they spell the word labor, but you're welcome for that. So you've got your capital, right? Your tools that you're using to produce. You've got your land, okay? And then you've got your labor, the farmer here. And then entrepreneurship is his idea about how to do something different or how to do something new. All right. So entrepreneurship is the idea part of it. All right. Now, the other term that we need to talk about when we talk about productive resources and factors of production is productivity. Productivity results when there is the efficient use of these factors of production, right? Productivity can increase when more can be produced using the same amount of productive resources. So if all of a sudden you're able to produce more, but you're still using the same amount of land, you're still using the same amount of capital, you're still using the same amount of labor, that's being more efficient. All right. It can also increase when the same amount can be produced using fewer resources. Okay. So you're either increasing the amount that can be produced with the same resources, or you're making the same amount but using fewer resources. But again, we see this idea that both of those are examples of ways that you can increase productivity. All right. And now, as I talked about the other day, the fundamental problem, the fundamental idea of economics, or the fundamental economic problem, is scarcity. There are not enough resources to satisfy the unlimited wants and needs. And we talked about this last week. It's not always caused by not enough money. It can be caused by a shortage of any of the reproductive resources. But it's important that you understand that scarcity becomes the fundamental economic problem. There's simply not enough resources to satisfy the unlimited wants and needs of people. The result of scarcity are trade-offs, right? Now, trade-offs are the alternatives that are given up when any choice is made. We talked about you have to make a choice because of scarcity. So those other things that didn't get done, or those other things that got left off, are the trade-offs, right? Now, there are the alternatives. Consumers are forced to choose between alternatives because they can't have everything. Okay, these are, as I mentioned, required as a result of scarcity. If you have this one piece of land here, right, is the city going to use this piece of land to build a school or a hospital? You can't use this piece of land to build the same school. You can't use it to build a school and a hospital. Now, there's always going to be somebody who be like, oh, well, it can be a smaller school or a smaller hospital. But again, you can't use the exact same plot of land to build two things. It has to be one or the other. And you have to make these choices. And then the alternatives are these trade-offs. And then we get to opportunity costs. So trade-offs are kind of all of the alternatives. The opportunity cost is the next best alternative, right? It's what you've given up when you make a choice. So again, I want to just kind of remind you here, there always is a little bit of confusion. Trade-offs are all the alternatives. When you make a choice, it's all the other things that you didn't do or that weren't produced, okay? The opportunity cost, though, is the one next best alternative or the most highly valued alternative that wasn't chosen. So this list of everything that wasn't chosen or wasn't produced, the opportunity cost would be the one that was ranked the highest in terms of value, or the next best thing. Okay. All right. So these next two slides are going to focus on two key things, these economic questions and economic goals. And these become the foundation of every society. So we have, because of scarcity, we've got to make these choices. And so then you also have to ask these questions. The first economic question that every society has to ask is what and how much to produce. Since we can't have everything, what are we going to use our resources to make or to produce, and how much of it will we produce? It's the first question, what and how much to produce. The second question is how to produce. What method of production will we use to make what we've decided to make? By answering that first question. Okay, once we know what we're going to produce and how much, then we have to say, how are we going to produce it? How are we going to make this? What method of production will we use? All right. And then third, for whom to produce? All right. Who will share in the benefits of production? Who is this being produced for? For whom to produce, right? So those are our three economic questions. What and how much to make? How are we going to do it? And who's going to get it? Once these questions, how we answer these questions, though, is based on the economic goals. Because every society, or even every maybe community, is going to answer those questions differently based on their economic goals and which goals they prioritize. Okay, so the goals are listed here for you, and I'm going to go ahead and describe what each one of them means. All right, so take a second, pause if you need to, type these goals down or write them down, and then I'm going to give you a description. So, economic efficiency. If your goal is economic efficiency, that means you are using all your factors of production the most efficiently possible, and you're eliminating waste, right? Efficiency is about everything working together to work as best they can and produce the most goods with little or no waste. Efficiency. All the factors of production are being used efficiently. Economic freedom, the goal of economic freedom is allowing all people to participate in the market how they choose. All right. They can participate. They can choose how they get money. They can choose how they spend money, what they're spending on, how much. Economic freedom is all about people choosing how they participate in the market. Okay. When we say market here, it means kind of in this economic field, in this market. Okay. The third one is economic security and predictability. So this is all about keeping the economy stable. The economy is not going up and down too much. And this includes things like jobs. So looking at the unemployment rate, trying to keep unemployment down, making sure that people have stable incomes. If economic security and predictability is your priority, is your top goal, all right, then you're going to answer those economic questions differently than if economic freedom is your top goal. Okay. Economic equity is making sure all people have equal access to participation in the market. All right, this is different than economic freedom, and these two get confused sometimes. Freedom is allowing people to choose how they participate. Economic equity, this fourth one, is all about making sure that people have access to the market, that all people are able to participate. It's not about giving them choice. It's about making sure that everybody's able to participate. There's a place for everyone. And then the final goal here is economic growth, right? Keeping the economy growing, making sure that all the businesses and the people are making money, that being a priority. Now, most communities and societies have all of these to some degree, but the difference here is how they prioritize them, right? Which one's the most important, followed by the second, third, fourth, fifth, right? You can rank them all differently, and it might be different for each person in this class as well. But again, whichever goal you're prioritizing, that's going to change how you answer what and how much to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. All right, so those economic questions are answered once you determine how you prioritize these economic goals. So that is it for today. Again, thank you for listening. We will talk more about a lot of these things in class, and as we continue through the semester, make sure that you finish these notes. Be sure to email or come to office hours if you have any questions, and have a great day.